Swatting Prevention, Part 2 of 4 in a series on swatting and how it's deceiving communities. Hello, this is Jay Martin, Nebraska Department of Education School Safety and Security Director. The video you're going to watch is a video lesson on swatting. You'll learn not only what swatting is, but how is swatting deceiving communities? How is it impacting us, and what can we do about it? So hopefully that prepared you to understand a little bit more about the what, who, where, and why of swatting. We're going to move on to prevention. Can we get ahead of these situations? As you're going to learn in this video, it's probably not practical, but there are things that we can do. We just got to be more aware of what is going on in our communities.
This kind of swatting thing would be very hard to stop.
Cybersecurity experts say today's hoax is about weaponizing fear, and they warn us to expect more bogus calls because of the amount of technology in the United States. WCPO 9 News reporter Jake Ryle is digging into the issue.
The 911 call of an alleged school shooter disturbing.
The suspect came to one classroom next to our classroom. He opened fire on the students. 10 students got injured next to our classroom.
But all of this.
Yes, white males armed with AR-15 rifles, wearing red shirts, body armor vest, and blue pants.
Was fake.
You would be shocked at the things they are capable of doing, not only just from a technological standpoint, but they are just despicable scum.
Cybersecurity expert Dave Hatter.
Sadly, all of this technology that brings a whole lot of great convenience and benefit to society can be used by bad people to do these kind of things.
Experts say hackers who know what they're doing can make it look real easy. Picking up the phone and dialing 911, using spoofing technology to create a fake phone number. Then hacking into the network to make it look like the phone call is coming from directly inside the school. On top of that, hackers can disguise their voice
like this using deepfake technology.
All of this, and the hacker could be halfway across the world. With smartphones and TVs, tablets, and other technology.
You know, the more IoT smart devices you plug in, the more potential openings there are in the network and the armor. Do they have some kind of antivirus on them? Have they been locked down so that they're harder to hack? Are they getting updates? You know, if you're not installing updates on those devices, you're eventually just waving a flag saying, hey, come hack me.
Hatter says it's easier than ever for hackers to get where they shouldn't. And this type of situation is hard to stop.
I could make it look like it came from somewhere local. You know, I could do all of those things very easily. And what's the police department going to do? Well, wait a minute, I better figure out if this thing is a swatting attempt or not. Of course they're not going to do that. That's why I'm saying I think this is a really, really difficult problem to solve.
One of the first lines of defense is actually the call taker. That dispatcher can have some red flags that come up that might give them a hint that this might not be an actual call. One of them is that they only receive one call into the dispatch center. No other calls are received. Typically, if it's a real event, they should be receiving and would be receiving many calls into their center. The spoofed or blocked number shows up as a voice over internet protocol call with all zeros or nines being used is one of those signs. Caller's voice tone or background noises is not consistent with what the caller is claiming. Clicking on the mouse can be heard, and to the follow-up questions about a building or the other particulars of the event, they just don't match up. Caller is searching for answers or is unable to answer certain questions from the dispatcher. Being very meticulous as a dispatcher in the questions that you ask the call taker or this swatter that makes the call. Mispronouncing names, places, changing their storyline. They often use specific gun names, and then they use gunshots that sound more like from a gaming system than actual gunshots. Other things that have been found out, again, typically after the fact, is other anonymous reporting services like Safe to Help Nebraska or Safe to Say. Other call services or anonymous reporting lines didn't receive any calls either. So these are some other red flags. None of these would really stop law enforcement from wanting to go investigate. It might be a softer search where you might send or utilize your SRO that's already in the building to kind of do a quick overview, but we don't want to delay a response. Law enforcement is still going to need to respond to these events, even though a dispatcher might have some inkling that it might be a hoax. There's still going to need to be that eyes and ears on scene to make sure that the scene and the school or home or building or employment agency is safe. What to do if you're swatted? Well, the first one on here is probably one of the hardest ones to do. Remaining calm. Sudden actions or movements can appear as hostile. Realize law enforcement, when they show up on scene, their senses have been heightened. They've been told there's an active shooter or killer within your building or school. So they're looking to respond to whatever action they might run across. Again, running into this blindly often is what they're doing. We need to cooperate. It is tense and scary, not just for those within the building, but also for law enforcement. Respond appropriately to whatever law enforcement's directions are, making sure that we're meeting all their needs as well. Again, this is not an easy situation to deal with. When it's all said and done, make sure that we report this. This is very expensive in the long run and can potentially result into casualties. We want to make sure we report these events so we can get to the bottom of who is doing them. Ways to thwart swatting or to prevent it happening to you as an individual is don't give out your personal information online. Make sure you're setting your privacy settings when you're on these platforms or on these devices. Don't use geolocate services. People don't need to know where you're at every time you go somewhere. Don't use your real name for a user's name in chat rooms, gaming systems, or other comment sections online. Utilize a VPN, a virtual private network. This creates that anonymous IP address so people can't locate you. Having a firewall, two-factor authentication, as you saw in the earlier video, and avoid oversharing. If you are swatted as a facility, you can use RAV's facility at smart911.com for corporate profiles. If it's an individual and you've been swatted, you can also use smart911.com. Prevention comes with practicing. The more we practice, the better we're going to be. Communities feel safer with pre-planned operations for these situations. That's why having an emergency operations plan for this specific type of incident is a best practice. Having common language helps community partners keep on the same page as the school district. Practicing reunification will reassure parents and students in an actual event. Starting small with safety teams, practicing with just them, and then having conversations with students and staff about different situations and incidents that occur, and building into a larger scale exercise, again, will be a best practice. Practicing on all these aspects will make us better for an actual emergency. For defeating swatting, you got to use grit. Why is grit important to our influences, especially our digital influencers? Well, grit is that bravery, that spirit, that determination, perseverance, and guts to avoid being influenced by these infectious online mobs. The first and foremost, you got to guard your emotions from being infected by the digital contagions that influence us. Often, people get us to react online by affecting us emotionally. That is a key component in swatting. Recognize the goal of the platform, media, or author behind the post. Again, being aware of those people on these platforms trying to influence us, often with opposing points of view to our own. Investigate the truth or lies, fact or fiction that's limiting the disinformation or biased infiltration that is trying to, again, influence us into some form of behavior. And lastly, really think before participating on any platform. Be mindful of what you comment and what you post whenever you're online. I've included several resources. The Nebraska Department of Education School Safety and Security website. You can also use our QR code up here in the far right-hand corner. One of the ways to divert any type of threat that happens at your school is to have an anonymous reporting. Safe to Help Nebraska is one of those. We have the number there. If you're using some other anonymous reporting service, utilize that, but also include Safe to Help Nebraska. It is a free service. I have the QR code for that as well. If you have questions about that, you can contact me, which will be on the next slide, about Safe to Help. 988, anytime there is a mental health issue that you're dealing with, crisis line is there for you. Even after these swatting events, that crisis line is there for you to contact if you're having some issues there. We have the Nebraska Family Helpline. 888-866-8660 is another way of accessing that information. I'd like to thank the Public Policy Center for helping me with putting together some of these videos and things within this presentation. I also need to thank Monty Lovelace for putting out some different information. For those of you that are not getting any type of communication currently from the NIAC or the Fusion Center, you need to get put onto Monty Lovelace's email distribution list. And if you would like to do that, his information is right here at the bottom. Send him an email or give him a call so you can get put on the distribution list when he has information that goes out to our school security or administration. Thanks for watching the Nebraska Department of Education swatting video. If you have any more questions about this, you can contact me directly, or if you have other questions about school safety and security in general, you can also contact me as well. Thanks again.